Hello, me angels, and welcome to another show with Willow's Witchy Den with myself and my beautiful sister, Sister Drew. So tonight's show is going to be an interesting one because we're going to be talking about the Amityville Horror House. Now, I know that this story has been spoke about quite a lot and things like that, but it's still one that really intrigues me for the one of the main reasons is just how much it's been shown. The fact that Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved in this case and got a phenomenal picture in this house of one of the boys. It's believed they'd captured the young boy that was murdered along with his family and stuff. So I wanted to do this one because I thought it'd be really good to talk about it because it's one of them stories where was it as bad as people made it out to be, the hauntings? Because there's a lot of stuff behind this. Like there's a lot of stuff that's come out years later saying that certain things that was said that was done didn't happen and certain things weren't meant to have happened and stuff like that. So I've got the story on how it's meant to have happened, and then I've got a little bit of what they say after and stuff like that. Guys, got a few pictures that I'm going to be adding as well. But before I start, I would just like to say hello to everybody. I hope that you're all okay and lots of love, light, and blessings to you all. And I hope that you're having a good day. And I'll let Sister Drew say hello to you and everything as well. Then we'll get on with this party.
Welcome everybody to the Monday show, which is Willow's Witchy Den show. But tonight, we're talking about Amityville. And as soon as Sister said that, something strange just happened. So I have got my lava lamp here, okay? It doesn't work, it needs a bulb. This photograph was taped to the top here, because there's loads of photos on it, guys, if you look and see. It actually, just as Sister said that, came and landed right there. Now, that was tucked behind all this. So how can that go from there to there? There's not even a breeze in here. That's crazy, guys. Honest to God. Yeah, so Amityville's such a strange one. It really is. There's so much rumours out there, especially when it first happened. And then now the rumours are still the same. Well, they're different, but it's still as intense with the rumours. So it's a very interesting story, yeah.
It is a very interesting story. And yeah, no, that's fine. Cara Duan's corner. If you just want to sit and listen, a lot of people do just do that, sit and listen. They do enjoy doing that. So you right
Enjoy
away,
the
my
show.
darling. No
Yeah.
problem. So I'm going to be reading all the content, but throughout the content, I'll stop and I'll say a little bit about it. Sister Drew can say a little bit about it because Sister Drew has some knowledge about it as well. And, it is a really good subject to talk about, I think. And it's being an investigator of the paranormal and things like that and being into all the strange and unknown. It's just one of those stories you have to talk about, and it never gets boring talking about it because of the way
Plus,
it
it was one of
was.
the most
Oh,
ones that scared me as a kid.
oh
So,
yeah, that as well. And I have got some pictures, and some of them may be a little bit disturbing because it's pictures of them in the body bags being brought out and things like that, guys. So I am just going to warn you so that you are aware. But we'll do that at the end. I'm going to actually just start by talking to you and reading what I've got, the research and
yeah.
everything. So I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to share out, guys, and get the stream out. I forgot to share out.
Yeah,
I
I've
do
shared it out.
apologise.
So, yeah,
Um, yeah, it's been one of them days,
just give them a
an
couple of
exciting
minutes. They'll
day,
come in. Yep,
and
they will. They will.
here we go. So we're
Okay,
gonna
I'll mute,
start.
guys.
The real story behind the Amityville Horror House. Amityville Horror House. This subject was done in 2005. The write up about this, obviously, the haunting and everything itself happened way before. The Amityville Horror House, as it looked in 2005, I will show you those pictures in a little while. The Amityville Horror House was the site of a famous haunting in 1975, where a family experienced terrifying apparitions and supernatural events. And there was meant to have been a lot of events and stuff that was going on. The haunting story led to the best-selling book and movie franchise, but skeptics like Robert Bartholomew believed it was a hoax. The real horror of the Amityville story lies in the Defoe murders, where Ronald Defoe killed his family in 1974, leading to the infamous haunting tale. Amityville, even the name sends chills up your spine. That's because the sleepy suburb on Long Island, New York, was the site of what may be the world's most famous haunting. And the murder itself was horrible. And he believed and said that it was a dark entity, an energy that had been in that house that actually told him to do this to his family. So yeah, there's a lot behind it,
Maybe we
which is
should talk a little bit about that first, sis, just
yeah,
to get people
yeah. I
up to
think
date.
we
If you're
should.
coming in,
So
Pat,
obviously, I don't. I don't know if there'd been stuff going on in the house, but they hadn't been. They weren't completely comfortable in the home, and this young man had started. From what he said, he'd started sensing that there was like a dark energy in this house, and it started to manipulate him quite a lot. And on the night of the murders, when he was arrested, he'd said that it wasn't him that done it. He was told to do it by this energy. This energy must have taken him over, and things like that. So he went and killed 6 members of his family: his mother and father, and his 4 siblings. And it's disturbing because it wasn't even like it was like your normal sort of murder either. 6 people murdered, and the way that it was done as well, when that some of them were face down in the beds, and obviously they'd been shot. That's what he'd done. He'd shot them. And when he was arrested, he did show some remorse. So I'm a bit here and there about that. Was he taken over by it, or was it just an off moment where he weren't happy or something, and he done this to his family, then he regretted it? I don't know what it was, but he was in prison for a very long time, and he ended up dying in prison as well. It was 2008, I believe, that he passed
he
away.
also said that he came home to his sister committing the crimes, guys. So there
Yes,
is a few stories out there. His sister was committing the crimes and he joined in and then he killed her. And then his sister said that he then in his jailhouse interviews and things said that there was an entity. He feels that there was an entity of some kind changing his personality as he was staying there. Now, you've got to remember something. This man done this crime, okay? So he went to jail. And then it wasn't until the next family moved into the home. And then
that
he
there was a
must have
haunting.
started to hear the rumours and things, or maybe the guards or something told him. So I did have files, guys, a bit of correspondence with Robert Defoe. It was a man that had reached out to me, one of the last podcasts Sister and I did about this subject, and he reached out to me. He had been writing to Robert Defoe. Unfortunately, I've not got that telephone anymore with the files in it, but he did say in that also that he did feel as if, I mean, this was little snippets of conversations this man had sent me, and it was relating to what was happening. And on that, he did say that he felt as if his personality had changed. And people around him also said, I mean, remember, he did go to the local bar and things, and they also said that he did get a little bit dark at the end up and things. So, was there an entity um, making all this,
Well,
making him do these things? Who knows?
that's the question. Was there? And it's not really something we're ever really going to truly know, is it? Like, I'm not being
I mean,
funny.
that was
All 6 of them
was
have
that the
passed away.
70s, 80s? Yeah, it was
Yeah,
80s,
so
wasn't
it was
it?
70s when they were killed. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well,
like,
that was all
it was a
hush
long
hush
time
back
ago
then.
that
Yeah.
it happened. And he's now passed away as well. So the story will never fully be out, only what he's
Yeah,
ever
but
said. And
yeah. It's an
okay, my
interesting
darling,
story. I
and
love
hello
it.
to everyone. Hope you're all okay. So obviously, yeah, like he said about the dark entity. Yes, and like Sister said, while he was in prison, he had heard stories and been told somehow or he got the information somehow that this new family that had moved into that house were experiencing these hauntings and these terrifying events
Yeah.
and seeing apparitions of what could
I
be
mean,
his
think
family
about
that
it.
he
If there
murdered.
was already a
So
dark entity there, and then he committed
yeah,
all those crimes, that
it would have
energy is
kept
going to
them.
make it 100 times worse.
It's going to make him 100 times worse, and it's also probably going to keep the souls of his family there as well, because it was his aim to kill them
Yeah,
and
they'd probably
do
be
that. So
traumatized.
it's an
Yeah,
awful thing, guys, but it's an
terrible.
intriguing story at the same time. You know what I mean? So let me just get on to the next bit. So in
Yeah, I'll mute again,
1975,
guys.
a family of 5 moved into their dream home, a 6-bedroom Dutch colonial at 112 Ocean Avenue, named High Hopes, knowing that the house had been the scene of a grisly mass murder just a year before. The family was immediately designed by yeah, designed by dreadful apparitions, bubbling green slime, red-eyed pig head, levitating beds, and sinister cries to get out. 28 days later, that's exactly what they did. They abandoned all their possessions and telling their terrifying story to anyone who would listen. So this family was only in there for 20 28 days, guys, and literally they fled. They left all their belongings and
Now,
they
the
were gone.
belongings
And
belong to the
that's a
Defoes.
big tale, guys.
Yeah.
Say that again, sis.
All of that furniture that they did have, the Lutzes, was the Defoe's furniture. They had actually
It
got
was, yeah.
that house and on a special offer. Everything was included. So therefore, all that furniture, guys,
Yeah.
was the Lutzes, yeah, the Defoes. So that
You're gonna
energy in
see
that
that in this
furniture
story.
alone, yeah,
Yeah.
and very
But they did, yeah.
interesting.
Everything was left how it was when and nothing was removed. And obviously it had gone for a special price because obviously the people that were selling the house knew what had happened and it had all of the furniture in there. And as we as investigators and people that are into the paranormal know that when things like that happen and furniture and stuff's left in that house, it's gonna have residual energy from it as well as this negative energy that is going around as well. And you
Yeah,
know, a lot of the disturbance in there may not have just been from this negative energy. It may have been them trying to let people know that they're trapped. They might have been trapped. They couldn't get
yeah,
away because a lot of negative energy do capture souls that have been tormented and lives have been ended badly.
yeah.
And it was his aim to make
Yeah,
that
I've
young
got a
man at the
theory.
time do that.
Yeah,
So
I've got a theory that maybe there was an entity of some kind there, and then when Robert Defoe or his sister or whoever did that to his family, I feel as if maybe that portal that got opened brought even more demons, bad
more
energy or
energy, yes,
whatever. Because
yes.
think
Well,
about what he done.
it's
Yeah, that brings its
it's
own energy.
darkness attracting it's darkness attracting darkness, isn't it?
Yeah,
You think you've got this family that moved in there, they were happy, they were all together, and then all this stuff started happening, and this young man started getting disturbed by these disturbances with this negative and dark energy that he talks about, and then he murders them out of nowhere. Like there would have been like a lot of people said that it was out of character because they always seemed like a very happy family. They didn't seem
yeah.
like they were not getting on or anything like that. So it was really, and it was a shock through the whole community. Such a shock
There
because it was such a
was
quiet,
rumours.
beautiful place,
Yeah,
and
there was rumours
but
that he
it
was
wasn't
abusive,
earned.
the father. But who knows
Yeah,
if that was just, maybe he changed when he went into the house as well. Because the Lutz man, he did change when he went into the house, remember? So who's to say that maybe
yeah.
when,
There's
I
a
mean,
lot
I
of
don't
people that,
know if he built
yeah,
the house or what, but that
yeah,
energy, guys, does change people. And then slowly by slowly, I mean, the what is it, 3 stages of possession. So think about all that. Anyway, we're
Yeah,
jumping the story
exactly.
here. I'll let sister get on and we'll be on to the next story with
It's
them.
all right, sis. You can talk. It's fine.
Yeah, but I
The
mean, that
book,
energy is amazing to conjure things like that. You know, it's perfect
it is,
for it.
and it will attract other energy. And obviously, if it's a legit haunting, which I do believe that there was something dark there, I do believe that something. It was weird. It
Yeah, I
was a
do
weird
too.
way to do it because they
Yeah.
didn't seem like an unhappy family. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
something wasn't right there. You know what I mean?
for sure.
And even when you look at the pictures of him, he looks very haunted. Like he
Yeah.
looked very drawn and things like that, which is another telltale sign as well. Which I've got some good pictures anyway, so you will be able to see everything. So the book, The Amityville Horror: The True Story, was published in 1977 and shot to the top of the bestsellers list. Hollywood bought the rights and released the Amityville Horror movie in 1979, which, despite tepid reviews, grew into a franchise of at least 17 official movies to date and hundreds of Amityville copycats, all based on the true story. But how much of Amityville Horror Story is fact and how much is fiction? Or was the world's most famous haunting nothing more than a amateurist hoax? Robert Bartholomew, I can't say that. Bartholomew view certainly
Bartholomew, sir.
thinks so. Yeah, certainly thinks so. Bartholomew is a psychologist in New Zealand, specializing in mass hysteria, and amazed that nearly 50 years after the alleged haunting, we're still talking about Amityville. So, and it did. A lot of this story went on for so long, and the story slightly changed over the period of time, apart from the guy himself that was meant to have that had done this. The Amityville's myths and priests in the force of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, says Bethelow is strictly obvious that it's a hoax, but people still want to believe. So that some of the content, the real horror, the Defo murders, the Lutz move in, the haunted, and the haunting begins. The creation of Amityville myth comes along. The real horror, the Defoe murders, and obviously it was at 112 Ocean Avenue. This exterior photo, right? No, this is I will show you the photos, but the exterior photo of the house, 112 Ocean Avenue, was taken on November the 14th, 1974, shortly after Ronald Defoe murdered his family there. Stan Wolfson, New Day, RN via Getty Images. Okay, forget that. One inseparable piece of Amityville story is truly horrific. Early on the morning of November the 13th, 1974, a 23-year-old magnetic match mechanic named Rafael Defoe took a high-powered rifle and killed all 6 members of his family, 2 parents and 4 siblings, as they lay drugged in their beds. So he'd also drugged them so that they weren't with it. They've obviously fallen asleep, or they've become like paralyzed in the bed. They can't really move or anything like that. And he went in and he shot them. So in that case, you know what I mean? Like, that's the bit that really gets to me and makes me wonder, like, if you're fully possessed by this entity and energy, you're not going to take the time to drug your family. You're just going to go in with the rifle and you're just going to shoot them. So I'm a little
Yeah.
bit confused there. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only bit in the whole story that really gets to me. And I think, huh? Like, why would you
See,
go
they
and
don't really know. It's, see, the thing is, if he was using a high-powered rifle, the first person that he killed, everybody else in the house should have woke up. If you think about it that way. So this is the
That's what I'm
reason that I
saying. The
think that
noises, there's just little things that don't add up. Like, why
was
would
the
the other
sister
one, why would
involved?
they have, was the sister
No.
involved? And,
Yeah.
but apparently they were heavily drugged in the beds.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's just little bits that you sit there and it makes you scratch your head and you think, what? You know?
Yeah, I know.
So, Defoe and his
Um,
lawyer, William Webber, claimed that Defoe was driven mad by a satanic presence in the house and pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The jury didn't buy the devil made me do it defense, and the judge sentenced Defoe to 6 consecutive life sentences, meaning he would never get out. The former Defoe home at 112 Ocean Avenue became notorious as the murder house and sat empty for nearly a year until George and Kathy Lutz moved in with their 3 kids and a dog. At 80,000, the property was a steal. In addition to the 6-bedroom home, there was a heated pool and a boathouse on the Amityville River, but the Lutz still found it a financial financial stretch. The Lutz move in, the haunting begins. Where did that go? I've just gone way too far there. The Lutz move in, the haunting begins. George and Kathy Lutz. George and Kathy Lutz, former owners of the haunted house at 112 Avenue in Amityville, New York, posed during a press tour for the book, The Amityville Horror. These are pictures I will show you in a little bit. The story of what happened to the Lutz family over 28 harrowing days in December 1975 and January 1976 has been retold many times and has morphed slightly with every telling. In all vengeance, there is a local Catholic priest whom the Lutz asked to bless the house due to the earlier reputation. According to one story, the priest sensed a sinister presence in one of the upstairs bedrooms and warned the Lutz not to sleep in that room. In the book, the priest felt a sharp slap on his face and heard a groaning voice scream, "Get out." I'm in the movie. In the movie, the priest was also attacked by a swarm of flies. Then the really weird stuff begun. Doors slamming, opening and shut all hours. The persistent coldness in the house, despite roaring fires in the fireplace. Drops of gelatinous goo, red in some versions, green or black in others, appearing on the walls and carpets. One night, Kathy transformed into a 90-year-old crone. Another, the face of a demon-eyed pig, appeared in a bedroom window. On their final night in the house, George reported that Kathy levitated and slid off the bed, while George was kept awake all night by the sound of children's beds slamming on the floor above him, flickering lights, and unseen presence lurking in the room. The next day, the kids awoken traumatized, saying they were unable to move or leave their rooms. The Lutz were terrified and exhausted and couldn't take any more, and on January the 14th, 1976, they left everything behind at 112 Ocean Avenue, never to return. So, this family's moved in, they're having all of this experience, but when you read books or you see certain movies about it, certain scenes and certain things that are supposed to have happened have been slightly changed. So that's where is it real or not comes in, because I've noticed that a lot in a lot of these films that are based on true stories, especially about murders and that. Sometimes people add things in to make it seem worse, so that they get the views and they get
Yeah.
the pop, publicity, and I think that's where all of this, is it real, is it not, is it exaggerated, did all of this stuff really happen? And there is people that were meant to have been involved in this case that have put like certain wordings across, saying that certain things that were described by the family hadn't actually happened.
Right,
So
so there's when Ed and Lorraine Warren went into the home, okay, the very first time that Lorraine walked into the living room, now remember, Lorraine always had that old Catholic priest. He was a saint, I think. Now she had a
yes,
protection, a little bit of wood. So the minute that she walked into that home and she looked around and she looked up, she seen, is it, oh, I can't even remember his name. Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue, to the pastor that she followed. What's his name? I can't remember. But she seen his face. So she knew
yeah,
instantly walking into that home that something definitely was there, because he was a very good mentor for her in different things. Whatever, I don't know if he was alive when she was alive, or if it was somebody she followed through scripture or not. I really don't know, guys. But he was an old pastor or something. She seen his face. Now, the minute she seen that,
yeah,
Lorraine, she knew there was something wrong. The lady that was going around with them as well, that was filming everything, and that is the lady that ends up going back and doing a documentary about 10 years ago. And she interviewed
yeah,
David Lutz, who was the son. And the minute that he turned 16, he was, so same with the daughter, the minute that they turned of age, they were off. And he went into hiding. He went way into the middle of nowhere, stayed himself because of the
yeah.
presence
He
in
did.
that
He didn't want
home
to
when he
talk
was a
about it.
kid.
He didn't want to talk about any of the stuff. They were very
Yeah.
scared to talk about it. The children were very, very scared to talk about it. Do I believe that it was haunted? Do I believe that stuff was going on there? Yes. Do I believe in the evidence and the investigation and the stuff that Ed and Lorraine done? Most definitely. They were
Yes.
phenomenal investigators, and Lorraine was an amazing physic. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't question anything that she says, but the family themselves, there was just certain things that people were saying slightly changed over time. They would say different things, and that they
Yeah.
described certain ways that it happened, and things that were meant to have happened, like calling the police, for instance, but there was never any record of them ever phoning the police. um that they'd mentioned about they'd found footprints in snow on a certain time as well, but at that time that they'd said, there was no snow. So, like, there's little things that
Yes.
make people
Definitely got the
wonder.
facts a bit wrong, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Have they got the timing mixed up? Have they got the dates mixed up? Because, not being funny or nothing, when you're going through something like that, you don't want to remember that, do you? So you don't want to constantly remember everything. It's going to be hard
Mhm.
enough getting it out your head as it is,
Yeah,
going through that. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So they could have got mixed up, or it could be that they've added things in to try to make it look better for
Yeah,
them.
get
But
the
you
Hollywood
just don't
treatment,
know. It's that sort of story that you're never going to know, really.
No.
So
See, I do
I'm
believe, much
not
like
sure.
sister, that there was something there. Now, remember, there was
Yes,
water and everything right next to that home. So water's a conductor of
yes,
energy. So there could have been multiple spirits through the years, entities through the years coming and going. Remember as well, that part in New York is one of the most oldest parts as well. So that could have been what was on the land before they built that home. There's so much rabbit holes you could go down with it. Also, remember
yeah,
as well, the Defoes, don't know the Defoes, the Lutzes, in the documentary with David Lutz, he said that his father, well, it was actually his stepfather, bought that home because he was actually an occultist, and he bought the home because he wanted to start experimenting on doing different rituals and things to see if there was any energies in it. So it was Mr. Lutz an occultist? Did he do rituals in there and make things 10 times worse for his family? Who
Could have
knows? Or
very
was
well
it
done.
all just, yeah?
Could have very
You're
well done.
never really going to know,
No.
especially now when the people that stay in the home say there's nothing ever goes on.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
again, I
this
don't
is my
blame them
vote
for
down.
not saying it. Maybe
Yeah.
there was stuff still going on, but they'll not tell because it is one of the most famous haunted houses in all America. So would they say anything? I know the house has
Yeah.
changed
And
hands a few times.
I think that, for the family that are there now, like from what I can tell, they don't want the
I hear it.
publicity. They don't want their house being
No,
constantly hounded because of this story and these murders that happened. So they could very well be having activity, but are just not saying it because they don't want all that publicity. They
yeah,
probably don't think it's right getting publicity on people's lives being taken and things. They probably don't agree with it. Like
yeah, I know.
you know. The creation of the Amityville myth. Soon after the Lutz abandoned the house, they met with William Webber, the lawyer who represented Ronald Defoe, the convicted killer. Webber, it turned out, was already shopping around the idea of a book about the Defoe family's murder called Devil on My Back. According to Webber, he and Lutz had a creative brainstorming session over many bottles of wine. The Lutz shared the story of the unsettling things that they'd felt and saw at the house, and Webber shared details about the Defoes and the killing that only he knew. Webber claimed that several of these details were spun into the book and the movie. Webber told the Lutz that a neighbour's cat would peer into the Defoe's window at night. That became the red-eyed pig. Ronald Defoe's father had once smacked his mother while she held a plate of red-sauced spaghetti that become the mysterious red goo on the wall that morphed into green slime bubbling from keyholes. We real life incident. Yeah, these are the things. I'll show you the pictures in a minute. Jay Anderson and the Lutz collaborated on the bestseller, The Amityville Horror, a true story which spawned a cottage industry of 12 more books, plus a hit movie with dozens of sequels, parallels, and knockoffs. How stuff works. Weber and the Lutz parted ways after a fight over how money from the book deal would be split. The Lutz took their story to Jay Anderson, a journalist and filmmaker who had made a short documentary on the making of The Exorcist. Sorry, my nose is really blocked up, guys. Anson listened to 35 hours of taped interviews with the Lutz. Then he sat down and wrote the book, says Bartholomew. The best way to describe Jay Anson is a writer who didn't let the facts get in the way of the good story. Writers Digest published a terrific interview with the Anson in 1979, soon after the book and the movie deal had made him famously wealthy. He was famously exclusive about the truthfulness of his account. It's funny, almost nobody ever says to me, "Hey, the book of yours is a bunch of bull." I didn't believe a word of it. Instead, they ask if I think that the Lutz told me the truth. Told that Sorry, guys. Instead, they ask if I think what the Lutz told me is true, said Anson, and I answered them with the same way I answered you when you asked the question. I'll tell them that I have no idea whether the book is true or not, but I'm sure that the Lutz believe what they told me to be true. Bartholomew is convinced that the Lutz abandoned the house because they couldn't keep up with the mortgage and tax payments and created the haunting story as an excuse and a lucrative side hustle. They wanted to make some money off of it, says Lowe, who co authorized a 2016 article in Skeptic magazine marking the 40th anniversary of the myth. For their part, the Lutz never retraced their story, never retract their story. Art critics are people who have never been in the house, just people who read a book, Lutz told the Washington Post in 1979. No one was no one who was ever in the house, who investigated it, ever called it a hoax. No one with any credentials who was personally involved ever called it a hoax. No one who helped us there with the auction, with getting stuff to the Salvation Army, ever called it a hoax. All I know is what happened to me. The Amityville house, now with a different house number, is discouraged horror fans, has been sold at least 4 times since the murders, and none of the newer owners have reported seeing any physical phenomena. Its last it last sold in 2016 for 850,000. The house where the movie was filmed, the house where the movie was filmed in 1979 has been completely reinvented and is currently for sale for 1,699,900. That's a lot of money. But that's the thing as well, like over the because of the murders, because of the stories, the books, the films, everything that's been put forward into the public eye, it's made the house become even more expensive now. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it's not been some like famous investigator or something like that that's not
I was
tried
just
buying
going
it.
to
You know
say
what I mean?
that. Yeah.
Like somebody like Zach Bagans or something. He's always got a thing
Yeah.
about going to houses that have been really bad and trying to buy them. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah,
You never
might
know.
be
It
a
might end
wealthy
up.
person though.
Yeah.
Definitely a
You would
wealthy
get a lot
person
of
to be able
money
to
if they
buy it.
put it as a hotel.
Oh yeah, he'd get a lot of money as well because he'd make money
Yeah.
from being in it, and because he's famous already. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
sorry,
definitely.
guys, my
Everybody
silence is
that
fine.
worked in that house said it was haunted. Even the lady that was doing I think she was a local news broadcaster or something, and she had got the
Yes,
privilege of going along. It was her that actually spoke to Lutz, as an adult. And she even said that the minute you walked into the place, you knew. So, how can that energy just go, guys? It can't,
it can't,
it
and
just
it's
can't
just sort of
go.
how sinister the and hello, my darlings, and everybody, and just how sinister it was meant to have been, and all of the things that had happened. There's just no way that energy is going to leave there. To me, I
No.
believe that that energy is attached to the house. That energy is attached to the grounds. I
Yeah.
do believe that possibly, you know, the grandfather that bought the house first could
Yeah.
have possibly, like Sister said, done things in there and not being fully aware of what he's doing, maybe
Yeah.
conjured these other energies. It may not have been one energy at play. There could have
Oh,
been
I don't
several.
think there was. Yep, I think there
You know
ended
what I
up
mean?
multiple. Yep, I
Yeah,
really do. I feel as if when
because anyone
sorry,
in the paranormal knows that evil and evil attract and evil grow. it grows. The darkness
You know
grows.
yourself.
It attracts more in. And with the murders themselves, it would
Yeah.
attract more energy in. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't a good
Those
murder.
type of places bring their own demonic energies because that's
Yes,
what feeds them is that energy, that chaos that was there that night.
I am
So
so sorry because I keep sniffing and that. It looked like I'm
that was me
crying, but
last
I'm
week.
not. It's my sinuses and everything. So I've been out
Yeah.
doing the garden today. It's playing up like havoc now.
Sorry guys, we're British, it's sniffle time.
Oh yes, and it's not exactly warm yet either. So
No, it's no
the
warm yet.
Amityville
Definitely
Horror
not.
House, located at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, gained infamy after the 1974 Defoe family murders and the subsequent claims of paranormal activity by the Lutz family, who bought the house a year later. Here's more details to look. The Defoe murders in November 1974, Ronald Defoe Jr. shot and killed 6 members of his family in their home at 112 Ocean Avenue. The Lutz family, a year later, George and Kathy Lutz, purchased the house claiming to experience paranormal activity after only 28 days, which led to the 1977 book The Amityville Horror and the 1979 movie adaptations. The book and movie the popularized the story of the house being haunted, leading to the house becoming a symbol of the paranormal. The house today still exists and has been renovated and the address changed to 108 Ocean Avenue to deter tourists. The truth is fiction. While the book and the movie portray the house as haunted, many people believe the story is exaggerated or fabricated. The Cromarty family, the family that purchased the house from the Lutz, claimed they experienced no supernatural events. The address changed. The address changed to 108 Ocean Avenue to remove tourists and to stop having the tourist attraction to the house. The house was sold in 2017 to an undisclosed owner for £605,000. The house was originally built in 1925. The 3-story home was originally built for John and Catherine Moyerham. The Moyerhams removed a small existing cottage from the lot. The Moyerhams removed a small existing cottage from the lot and commissioned local builders Jesse Purdy to construct the 4-bedroomed house. Part 3. The Amityville Horror is a book by American author Jay Anson, published in September 1977. It is also the basis of a series of films released from 1979 onwards. The book is based on the claims of paranormal experiences by the Lutz family, but has led to controversy and lawsuits over its truthfulness. History basis. On November the 13th, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald Defoe Jr. shot 6 of his members of his family at the home. A large Dutch colonial house situated in a suburb neighborhood in Amityville, on the south shore of Long Island, New York. After a trial lasting 7 weeks, Defoe was convicted of second-degree murder in November 1975 and sentenced to 6 terms of 25 years to life in prison. Defoe died in prison in March 2021. So, like 4 years ago. In December 1975, George and Kathy Lutz moved into the house where their 3 children and dog Harry. After 28 days, the Lutz fled the house, claiming to have been terrorized by paranormal phenomena while living there. The plot. The book describes the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. God, they use this Ocean Avenue a lot, don't they? As a remaining avenue as remaining empty for 13 months after the Defoe murders. In December 1975, George and Kathy Lutz bought the house for what was considered to be a bargain price at £80,000. The 5-bedroom house was built in a Dutch colonial style and had a distinctive gambrel roof. It also had a swimming pool and a boathouse, as it was located on a canal. George and Kathy married in July 1975 and each had their own homes, but they wanted to start fresh with a new property. Kathy had 3 children from a previous marriage: Daniel, 9, Christopher, 7, and Melissa, Missy, 5. They also owned a crossbreed Malamute and Labrador dog named Harry. During the first inspection of the house, the real estate broker told them about the Defoe's murders and asked if this would affect their decision. After discussing the matter, they decided that it was no problem. The Lutz family moved in on December the 18th, 1975. Much of the Defoe family furniture was still in the house because it was included for $400 a part of the deal. A friend of George Lutz learned about the history of the house and insisted on having it blessed. At the time, George was a non-practicing Methodist and had no experience of what this would entail. Kathy was a non-practicing Catholic and explained the process. George knew a Catholic priest named Father Ray who agreed to carry out the house blessing. In Anson's book, real-life priest Father Ralph J. Pecoraro is referred to as Father Maniscus for privacy reasons. Father Mancuso was a lawyer, judge of the Catholic court, and a physiotherapist who lived at the local Sacred Heart Rectory. He arrived to perform the blessing while George and Kathy was unpacking their belongings on the afternoon of December the 18th, 1975, and went into the building to carry out the rites. When he flicked the first holy water and begun to pray, he heard a masculine voice: "Damned that he get out." When leaving the house, Father Manisco did not mention this incident to either George or Kathy. On December the 24th, 1975, Father Manisco called George Lutz and advised him to stay out of the second floor room where he heard the mysterious voice. The former bedroom. I've just lost my way now. Hang on, afternoon something. Voicing to get out. Did not mention the incident and advised him to stay out of the second floor of the room where he had heard the mysterious voice, the former bedroom of Mark and John Matthews Defoe, that Kathy planned to use as a sewing room. But the call was cut short by static. Following his visit to the house, Father Monescu allegedly developed a high fever and blisters on his hands, similar to stigmata. At first, George and Kathy experienced nothing unusual in the house. Talking, talking about their experiences subsequently, they reported that it was as if they were each living in a different house. By mid-January 1976, after another attempt at the house blessing by George and Kathy, they experienced what would turn out to be their final night in the house. The Lutz declined to give a full account of the events that took place on this occasion, describing them as too frightening. After getting in touch with Father Maniscalco, the Lutz decided to take some belongings and stay at Kathy's mother's house in nearby Deer Park, New York, until they had sorted out the problems with the house. They claimed that the phenomena followed them there, with the final scene of Anderson's book describing greenish black slime coming up the staircase towards them. On January the 14th, 1976, George and Kathy Lutz, with the three children and their dog Harry, left 112 Ocean Avenue, leaving all of the possessions behind. The next day, a mover arrived to remove the possessions to send it to the Lutz. He reported no paranormal phenomena while inside the house. The book was written after Tom Mossman, an editor and the publishing house Prentice Hall, introduced George and Kathy Lutz to Jay Anson. The Lutz did not work directly with Anson, but submitted around 45 hours of tape recordings and recollections to him, which were used as the basis of the book. Estimates of the sale of the book are around 10 million copies from its numerous editors. Anson is said to have based the title of the Amityville Horror on the Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft, which was published in 1929. Other books. The story of the Amityville Horror was continued in a series of books by John G. Jones, with the Amityville Horror Part 2, Amityville The Final Chapter, Amityville The Evil Escapes, and Amityville The Horror Returns, and in 1991 Amityville The Nightmare Continues by Robin Cole was published. Hans Holzer wrote 3 books relating to the story Murder in Amityville, The Amityville Curse, and The Secrets of Amityville. Murder in Amityville was used as the basis of the 1982 film Amityville 2, The Possession, and the 1990 film The Amityville Curse was based on the book of the same name. William Weber, the defense attorney for Ronald Defoe Jr. at his trial, recommended Holzer to Defoe in 1979 as a way for Defoe to obtain a book deal telling his side of the story. In 1983, film Amityville 3D was also turned into a novelization by Gordon McGill, Mentally Ill in Amityville. A factual account of the case by William Savive was published in 2008. Disputes in accuracy. The roles of the Father Pescaro, Father Mascuso in the book has been given considerable attention. Father Pescaro stated in an affirmative during a lawsuit in the late 1970s that his only contact with the Lutz concerning the matter had been by telephone. Other accounts say the father did visit the house but experienced nothing unusual there. In 1979, he described his experience while blessing the Amityville house during an interview for the television series In Search of. In the interview, he marks he makes it clear that he did in fact enter the house and that he was slapped by an invisible force and told to get out by a disembodied voice. Jim and Barbara Cromartie rejected the claims of physical damage to the doors, locks, and windows. They bought the house for 55,000, equivalent to 285,000 in 2024. In March 1977, Barbara Comfrey argued that they appeared to be the original items and had not been repaired. The couples also revealed that the Red Room was a small closet in the basement and would have been known to the Lutz because it was not concluded in any way. Local Shinnecock Indians rejected the claim made in chapter 11 of the book that the house was built on site where the tribe had once abandoned their mentally ill and dying. Researchers Rick Moran and Peter Jordan rejected the claim of cloven hoof prints in the snow on January the 1st, 1976. Their investigation revealed that there had been no snowfall at this time. No neighbour reported anything unusual during the time that the Lutz were living there. Police officers are depicted visiting the house in the book and in the 1979 film, but the records showed that the Lutz did not call the police. There was no bar in Amityville called the Witch's Brew at the time. Stephen Kaplan and other critics have pointed out that changes were made to the book as it was reprinted in different editions, page needed. In the original hand-covered editor, Father Prisco's car is an old tan Ford, and he experienced an incident in which the hood flies up against the windshield while he was driving it. In later editions, the car is described as a Chevrolet Vega before reverting to a Ford. In May 1977, George and Kathy Lutz filed a lawsuit against William Webber, the defense lawyer for Ronald Defoe Jr., Paul Hoffman, a writer working on an account of the hauntings, Bernard Burton and Frederick Mars, both alleged clairvoyants who had examined the house, along with Good Housekeeping magazine, the New York Sunday News, and the Hearst Corporation. The Lutz alleged misappropriation of names for trade purposes, invasion of privacy, and mental distress. The claims against the News Corporation were dropped, and the remainder of the lawsuit was heard by Brooklyn District Court Judge Jack B. In September 1979, Judge Milstein dismissed the Lutz claims in the September 1979 on the 17th issue of People's Magazine. William Webber wrote, "I know this book is a hoax. We created this horror story over many bottles of wine." This refers to a meeting that Webber had with George and Kathy Lutz, during which they discussed what become the outline of Anderson's book. Judge Winterstein also expressed concern about the conduct of William Webber and Bernard Burton relating to the affair, stating there is a very serious ethical question when lawyers become literally agents. Webber himself filed a $2 million lawsuit against the couple, charging them with re-engineering on their book deal, while the Comfries launched a suit against the Lutz parents. Author Anson and his publisher during the trials. The Lutz admitted that virtually everything in the Amityville Horror was pure fiction, according to the article in the Skeptical Inquirer. George Lutz mentioned that the events in the book were mostly true. In June 1979, George and Kathy Lutz took a polygraph test relating to their experience at the house. The polygraph test was performed by Chris Gugus and Michael Rice, who were reportedly among the top 5 polygraph experts in America. The results, in Rich's opinion, did not indicate lying. However, skeptics have pointed out that the polygraph tests are notoriously unreliable and that there is little evidence that the polygraph test could accurately detect lies. In October 2000, the History Channel broadcast Amityville, The Haunting of Amityville Horror, or Hoax, a two-part documentary made by horror screenwriter and producer Daniel Farrands. The debate continues concerning the accuracy of the Amityville Horror. The various owners of the house since 1976 have publicly reported no problems while living there. James Comptree bought the house in 1977 and lived there with his wife Barbara for 10 years. He commented nothing weird ever happened, except for people coming by because of the book and the movie. Main article works based on Amityville Haunting. The people and the events fictionalized in the Amityville Horror have been the subject of a number of films, many of which share no connection other than the reference of Amityville. So the books were the Amityville Horror, Amityville 2, The Possession, Amityville 3D, Amityville 4, The Evil Escape, Amityville, The Curse, Amityville, It's About Time, Amityville, A New Generation, Amityville Dollhouse, Amityville Horror, Amityville Haunting, The Amityville Asylum, Amityville
Jeez,
Death
oh,
House, Amityville Playhouse, Amityville No Escape, 2016, Amityville Vanishing Point, Amityville Legacy, Amityville Terror, Amityville Prison,
oh wow.
Amityville The Awakening, Amityville Evil Never Dies, Amityville
Wow.
Exorcism, Amityville Murders,
My goodness.
Amityville The Harvest, Amityville Where the Echo Lives,
Oh jeez.
Amityville Enado. The 1979 film, based on Jay Anson's novel, is the best known in the series. James Berlin and Margot Kidder portray the couple George and Kathy Lutz. The part of the priest who blesses the house, renamed Father Denny in the film, was played by Academy Award-winning actor Rod Steiger. The first 3 Amityville films received a theatrical release, while the 4th film was made for television by NBC. The sequels from the 1990s were released direct to video and contained virtually no materials relating to the Lutz family or to the Defoe murders. Instead, they concentrated one paranormal phenomena caused by cursed items supposedly linked to the house.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that was about a
One,
mirror or something, wasn't it?
yeah, there was several
Oh, that is
objects.
real.
I mean, there was meant to have been a mirror. There was meant to have been a few the weird vases and other things that was meant to have been in there. That
Wow.
apparently is what these
It's
energies are
blowing
attached
the
to, or
butt
something.
out it. Yeah.
And there's been so many films and books wrote about this situation and
No
this
wonder people don't
scenario.
believe it.
That
Yeah.
people, I don't blame that people don't believe in some of it. I mean, it's been changed and fascinated, names changed, mistakes
Yeah.
put in the videos. In my opinion, if you're going to make a video or a film about something true, do it the true way. Don't be putting misinformation, because at the end of the day, it's disrespectful to the dead.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
was
and
going to
at
say
the
that
end of
when
the
they
day,
made the film.
they're making all this money out of 6 innocent people being murdered.
You know.
You know
When
what
they
I mean?
made the film, it was right in the middle of horror era, remember? So all they were trying to
No,
keep
it
up
was,
with
but it's
the
even
recent
what's even
horrors.
badder is that the son wanted to sit there and tell the story as well. You know what I mean? Like,
I
why
know.
would you want to sit there and say about how you murdered your mother and your 4 siblings and your father and your 4 siblings? You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to
I
talk
know.
about that.
There's a lot of
You know what I mean?
documentaries by him in it.
And it was all money. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
One
often
of the
great.
better known features of Amityville horror films is the distinctive Jack O' Lantern like appearance of the house, which was
Look at
created
this.
by 2-quarter round windows on the 3rd
Thank
floor
you.
attic level. The windows are often illuminated in the films, giving the appearance of menacing eyes. The first 3 films were filmed at a house in Toms River, New Jersey, which had been converted to look like 112 Ocean Avenue. After the authorities in Amityville denied permission for local filming, although not all of the film in the Amityville horror series are set at the former Lutz home on Ocean Avenue.
Yeah.
The distinctive Dutch colonial house is traditionally used as the main image in promotional material. In 2005, a remark of the original Amityville horror film was released with the tagline "Catch 'em and kill 'em," referring to the claimed link between the house in Ocean Avenue and John Ketchum, who named whose name has been linked to witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts, but remains a controversial and exclusive figure. This vision exaggerates the isolation of 112 Avenue, Ocean Avenue, by depicting it as a remote house similar to the Overlook Hotel in Stephen King's The Shining. In reality, the 112 Ocean Avenue is a su- su- suburban
Suburban.
house with 50 feet, 5 miles of other houses in the neighborhood. The house used in the 2005 version was a Silver Lake, Wisconsin, while work other location work was shot in nearby Antiques, Illinois.
Yeah.
The child character Jodie Defoe appearing in the film is fictional and was not one of the victims of the shooting by Ronald Defoe Jr. In November 1974, George Lutz described the 2005 remake as drivel and sued the makers for breach of contract, defamation, and libel. He objected particularly to the scenes in the film where the male lead named George Lutz and played by Ryan Reynolds, is shown killing the family's dog with an axe.
Mm.
The film also shows that George Lutz' character building coffins for the members of his own family. The defamation claim was dismissed by a Los Angeles court in November 2005, while other issues related to the lawsuit remained unresolved at the time of the George Lutz death. The documentary My Amityville Horror was released in March 2013. It featured interviews with Daniel Lutz, one of the children who lived in the house
Daniel,
during the
that's
period
what it was. It
on
was the David.
which the book and film are based.
Mm.
Lutz echoed the original story as told by his mother and stepfather. He also makes additional claims that both he and George Lutz were possessed and that George Lutz demonstrated tele, what? telekinetic abilities and strongly suggested that George's dabbling in the occult may have entertained the demonic events.
Yeah, I definitely think
Legacy.
that to be true. Yeah.
I do as well, yeah. Legacy. Kathleen Teresa Lutz, October the 13th, 1946, August the 17th, 2004, died of emphysema, and George Lutz, January the 1st, 1974 to May the 8th, 2006, died of a heart disease. The couple had divorced in the late 1980s but remained on good terms.
Yeah.
During the period in which the Lutz family was living at 112 Avenue, Stephen Kelpen, a self-styled vampirologist and ghost hunter, was called in to investigate the house. Kelp and Lutz had a falling out after Kelpen said that he would expose any fraud that was found. Kelpin went on to write a critical book titled The Amityville Horror Conspiracy with his wife Roxane Salk Kelpin. The book was published in 1995.
Mm.
Oh dear. What on the night
You're
of
getting
March
worse as we're cold.
on the night of March 1976, the house was investigated by Ed and Lorraine Warren, a husband and wife team. Self-described as demonologists together with a crew from the television station Channel 5 New York, and reported Michael Linder of W News FM. During the course of the investigation, Gene Campbell took a series of in- interfered time-lapse photographs. One of the images allegedly showed a demonic boy with glowing eyes, who was
Mm.
standing at the foot of a staircase. The photograph did not emerge into the public domain until 1979, when George and Kathy Lutz and Rod Steiger appeared on the Merv Griffin show to promote the release of the first film. 112 Ocean Avenue was also investigated by the paralogist Hans Holzer. The Warrens and Holzer have suggested that the house is occupied by malevolent spirits due to its history. The Warrens visited the house. The Warrens' visit to the house was depicted in 2016, and it film 16 the film The Conjuring 2. George Lutz registered the phase The Amityville Horror as a trademark in 2002, and it is referred to as an Amityville Horror on his official website. Lutz claims that the film produces embellished or fabricated events portrayed in 1979 version and in the 2005 remake. He also claimed that the producers of the 2005 film did not involve his family and that they used his name without permission.
Mm.
112 Ocean Avenue in December 2005. The house known as that still exists, but it has been reinvented and the address changed to discourage sightseers for visiting it. The quarter round windows have been removed, and the house today looks considerably different from the depiction in the films. The house in Tom's River, used as the location for the first three films, has also been modified for the same reason. For the
Mm.
2005 film version, the house address was changed to 412 Ocean Avenue. The 2005 film remake says that the basement of the Lutz home was built in 1692, but
Mm.
112 Ocean Avenue, also known as the High Hopes, was built around 1924 for John and Catherine Mullahan. The local residents and authorities in Amityville, New York, are unhappy with the attention that the Amityville horror brings to the town and tend to decline requests to discuss it publicly. The website of Amityville Historical Society makes no mention of the murders by Ronald Defoe Jr. in 1974 or the period of that the Lutz family lived at the 112 Ocean Avenue. When the History Channel made its documentary about the Amityville in 2000, no members of the Historical Society would discuss the matter on camera. The episode of the CIS New York, first broadcast on October the 31st, 2007, was a Halloween edition based on the Amityville horror, entitled Boo. It featured a house in Amityville where a family had died in circumstances similar to Defoe's murder. In May 2010, the house was placed on the market with an asking price of 1.15 million. In August 2010, the house was sold to a local resident for 950,000. On August the 21st, 2010, the departing owner held a moving sale at the house harded, and hundreds of people turned up for the event. They were allowed to go inside the house, but not to visit the upstairs rooms or the basement. And that is the end of that, guys. So let me just show you some of the pictures quickly. Oh my god, guys, my nose.
What's this? She's getting worse. Sniffles. I was just
So,
looking up a bit of the history there, and it was saying about Indigenous people staying there
so
in Long Island. There was English settlers and Dutch settlers, I think they said.
yes,
That's interesting.
yeah, there was quite a lot of it. So obviously, the top one is the house in 1974, and
It's not
apparently the
changed
house
that
in the
much.
bottom, yeah, and the one in the bottom is in 2024.
You can still tell it's that. Just because
Yeah,
they've changed the windows,
you can
isn't it?
definitely still tell it's it, but it's most definitely changed its features a bit, definitely.
Yeah, it's not as
Um,
creepy looking.
this is what it looked like around the time of the murders when the family was murdered. Was the evening that the murder had been put forward.
Yeah, if you look at the top window, that's the one that they say there's somebody looking out.
Yes.
Look at the top window.
Then there's more of the crime scene.
Hi, Sammy.
Hey, darling. So this is the evening when the family were killed and all the police and the public had come out, because obviously over there it was a big shock that it had happened. They didn't
Yeah,
expect that anything like this would happen. It was a very small and very quiet place, and a lot of respectful people there. Nothing like this really ever happened in this sort of place. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it was a big shock to everybody. Um, then I'm going to show you. Oh dear, I'll show you them in a minute. Um,
No,
this is
Sammy, it's
them
in
being
New
removed.
York.
This is them being removed from the house, guys. I do apologise.
Yeah.
Um,
It's good.
this is the scene. One part of the scene. Poor people.
Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
what the house looks like today.
Right. Okay.
I'm
That's
not going
far
to do
better.
the Ed and
Far
Lorraine bit yet.
brighter. Yeah.
Yeah. The picture here, guys, that is Robert, the one that murdered the family.
There's a boathouse as well.
This is the Lute's father, being no, the
Yeah, it's
Defoe. It was,
polygraphed.
yeah,
He's Defoe.
being
Yeah, he's
polygraphed,
Lutz,
and
sorry.
yeah, and they were said to have passed the tests as well.
I
Um,
remember seeing them on the programme a way back. It was a programme, Pebble Mill, I think it was called, a way back here in the UK. And he got interviewed, him and his wife. And he did show the big bite mark on his legs, guys. And you maybe
yeah,
find that online somewhere, and you could see that something clearly bit him.
yeah,
So,
and this is him and his family. And then the pictures of the family that were murdered, along with their brother in the picture, Robert.
yeah,
Now, they all look very happy. They don't look like a family that are not getting on, you know.
yeah,
So, there is something there, definitely. Then we have got, and we cannot forget them, our amazing Ed and Lorraine Warren doing the
yeah,
investigation with their teams in the house. And it was said that Lorraine and Ed actually experienced quite a lot of stuff while being in this place. And while being there, they caught one of the most famous pictures that they do depict and believe to be one of the youngest son that was murdered. Even though he's been described as a demonic spirit,
yeah.
in this picture it shows you it in more detail that you've got the face there, and that's the youngest that was
The
murdered.
funny thing
And
is, though,
there's the
guys,
picture
as
of the
well,
ghost.
just
Yeah,
quickly adding, I see that picture. Those files I had, there was a picture exactly the same as that I think one of the family members had took, and the little boy, you could clearly see it was his face. So
it is. Yeah,
the fact that they caught the paranormal picture, yeah, there was a picture took how many ever years before it, not in the same position, obviously. I think it had been the mother that took the picture of him walking out the room or something. But it just shows you just how much that little boy was his bedroom, is my point.
yeah. And then obviously the
Was
last
his
picture
room.
is obviously all of them sitting down at the table, and obviously Lorraine is channeling or trying to come into the energy of the house, trying to see what happened, trying to get the family to talk to her and things like this. I do know that from like documentaries and stuff that they'd spoke that they both found it very disturbing investigating this place.
Yeah.
They said it was full of energy. It was very evil there, and they said you could feel the sadness and the sorrow and the pain of the family that were murdered there as well. They could feel all of this there, and and they do say that the reason that there is no paranormal, apparently there's no paranormal activity there anymore. Lorraine and Ed had actually specified that they'd actually cleared the house out. They'd done it so the family could move on and so they could get rid
Yeah.
of this negative energy, which is
And I
why there's
often
no more
wondered as
paranormal
well,
activity.
because when Lorraine did go into the house, she did see our padre, I think she called him, the
The
saint that she
Padre, yeah,
worshipped or whatever it was. She seen a picture of him. So the fact that he had appeared in that home could have maybe cleansed it in a way, if you know what I mean. So it just shows that maybe there
I
wasn't
think
anything happened after
I
it.
think I think that his energy helped, definitely. But they
Mhm.
obviously performed
Did
ceremonies and
something.
rituals and
Yeah.
stuff like that to get rid of this energy out of the house, because obviously this house was possessed with this energy. You know, you've got
It was
this
probably
tortured
holding those
family,
spirits at
this
ransom.
this tortured
Yeah.
family stuck there. These negative energies going around. People were being traumatized when they're moving in there. So Ed and Lorraine done what they were very good at, and that was sort the situation out, because no family deserves to be stuck behind after what happened to him. It
No.
was a terrible thing to go through, you know what I mean? So I have a lot
And
of
they had
respect for Ed
such
and
big
Lorraine Warren,
hearts as
and I
well.
would never ever question Ed and Lorraine Warren's
No, me
judgments on
neither.
anything. They are truly tremendous people.
I do
If it's
believe
not
that the
haunted,
people I
it was
believe the people
haunted.
that say negative things about them is the ones
Yeah,
that
I
don't
think that
want
they're doing it because
people to
they're trying to make
believe.
money themselves. You know what I mean? They're trying
Yeah.
to depict them because they're so good at what they've done.
Or they don't
But
want people to
the
believe that
truth
people
is,
can do that type of thing
yes,
because
it was
they
haunted.
want it to be all
It
negative.
was haunted,
Oh, definitely. It was
and I
haunted,
do believe
guys.
that maybe the young Robert was affected in some way by something. I do believe that. How
I think they all
affected,
were.
I don't know, but I do believe that he did have some sort of effect. I do believe it was led on by his grandfather and stuff as well. All of that ritual stuff that he done in there, that probably didn't help. You know,
Yeah,
there
I
was
know.
already a lot of energy in that house already, and
Yeah.
if
The
it's not
land
haunted
that was
anymore,
on as well.
it's because Ed and Lorraine done their job properly and they got rid of it all. Because I'm not being
Yeah.
funny, Ed and Lorraine are some of the most down to earth and most loyal people in the paranormal, and there's no way that they would leave a suffering family in that house. They wouldn't.
No,
They would never
no.
ever do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
The
that is the
land
Amityville
there
Horror,
as well
guys.
is
Let Drew
definitely
say
a
some
strange
bits now.
land.
I've spoke too much. My voice feels like it's going to fly out and fly off.
I've really just been saying mine as we're going along anyway. The only thing I was really want to say was about the land. For
Yeah,
that land to be part of the English settlers, I think it was the Dutch settlers, to be fair. So that energy that must have been there beforehand, it was the indigenous people. So the burial sites and things maybe have been interrupted. Who knows? I mean, way back then, there is maps. I was looking at a map when I was looking all this stuff up there. There is maps about Rhode Island, and it talks about all the different settlers and things. So you could easily go back the history to it, maybe
isn't
more if you're in America, to see what was
Sammy?
actually there.
Sammy put a question up. Isn't the Amityville house in
Yeah, I did
Indiana?
say that. No, it's in New York, Sammy Hen. Yeah.
It's in New York. What is his name? Who are you asking about? Who's what's name?
Robert
Robert.
Defoe, is that who you're talking about? The
Robert
one that
Defoe
done,
was the one that murdered his family.
yeah.
If you're on
And
about the
Lutz
guy
was the
and
ones
the
that
lady
fled.
in the end pictures, that was Ed and Lorraine Warren with their investigators.
Yeah. But for the fact that it is up for resale again is interesting because I do believe
It
that
is,
maybe
yes.
somebody will buy it. Think about the money they would probably make, guys. And some people are like that, that they'll go buy a haunted house and then start renting it out as a haunted location. But then again, would you want that energy to be back in there? If it is peaceful, leave it peaceful. Who knows what damage you could do, you know?
But I think that if they'd done that, they wouldn't bring that same energy back there. That's gone. It'd be something else,
Yeah.
and it'll probably be something even worse. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, in all of this, I know that it's a big story and people like to look at it and talk about it and stuff, but it's really important to remember that that house was where 6 lives were taken.
Yeah, it should be left
You know what I
alone.
mean? And that should be what's remembered. It shouldn't be all these books and these movies and away from it. Six
Seeing if you
innocent
can conjure
lives,
the demon back
two
up. Yeah,
adults,
leave it
a
alone.
mother and father, and their 4 children were killed by the eldest son. You know what I mean?
Hmm. And his life
And
was
that's
over as
that's
well.
what's and his life is over as well. He was put away in prison, and he
I think he
died in
got,
prison. You know what
yeah,
I
I think he
mean?
got
So
cancer
that's
or
what you've got to
something.
remember. Even though it's so cruel what happened to the family and that, we don't know what was happening to him. We don't know what it was that was affecting him and stuff, guys. You
Mhm.
can't be judgmental because you don't know. You weren't there. You didn't experience this. If you was there, you probably wouldn't be breathing and talking now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's one of those things we'll never
you know
know,
what I
as
mean?
sister says. And it was a way
No,
back
you
in the
won't.
70s. So
It's always going to be like a lot of these other stories where it's always going to be,
the
did
learning
it?
curve.
Was what if? It's something to always pull you in and keep that name going. But just remember that in all of it, 6 innocent lives were taken.
Yeah, you've
4
got
of
to
them
learn
being
from that.
babies, children, you know.
And I do believe sister's right that I think that Lorraine and Ed Warren would have definitely done some sort of cleansing, some
Oh, yeah,
sort of passed over the spirits
I
and
watched
things.
the documentary bits yesterday where they'd
Right.
sat down speaking about this case, and that's why I mentioned about it. And they'd said that they'd done thorough cleansings and stuff in that house to make sure that that family wasn't left there because of
Or
what they
any other
felt.
family. Yeah, I
And
think that's the best thing.
Lorraine had the abilities to be able to see, feel, and everything. So she see that family in it being tortured, going
See,
through so
that's the
much, and
thing as well.
she weren't prepared. She wasn't prepared to leave them there. She weren't
I
going to
was
do
just
that.
going to say that as well, because Lorraine's testimony after she went in there the first time was that it was the strongest energy she had ever felt anywhere.
It
I mean, that
disturbed
is
her.
her saying
It
that.
disturbed her. It
Mm-hmm.
disturbed her because of how strong the energy was, and it disturbed her because of how much that family was suffering in the afterlife.
In the afterlife, probably reliving it over and
Staying,
over.
staying in those moments. She said that when she walked into certain rooms, she could see the replaying of them being murdered. That they keep reliving
Mhm.
that. And you
See,
imagine
that
going through that
energy would
every
have
single time.
definitely
That's
helped that
oh
haunting. Yeah, that
no,
energy would
it
have helped
wouldn't.
that haunt so much.
And
Yeah, sure.
all they wanted to do was want it to be released. They
Yeah,
want it to be released and they want it to be removed from that place so they can. But obviously, they're never going to forget what happened to him. But at least they could move on and be
yeah,
free
that's them there in
from this
heaven,
energy. You know
from
what
the
I mean?
free
And
world.
Ed and Lorraine helped them to do that.
Yeah, and
So
that's where they should be, guys. And I feel as if there's a lesson in it for us all. These houses that tragedy happens in, it just shows you that if you do not cleanse, go in there as a spiritual person, cleanse as well as tidying up the mess. Go in it, cleanse it. Get rid of, I don't mean that. Pass over any of the entities that is there. Sorry, no, then I'm tired. I'm sorry, I'm getting all mixed up. Pass over any of the spirits that is left there, and do not go ghost hunting or anything in those type of places. Let the energy go, it's too
I
dangerous.
just, I think, I think it's disrespectful to go to places like that and want to be investigated and trying to torture them.
It is.
Why would you do that to them? I get it. If I went there and I was in there and talk to them, I'd be really respectful. I would be very open and say that I'm very sorry for what happened to you. I'm not here to just torture you. I'm actually here to help you go. I could not
Yeah.
leave that house knowing that family is stuck in there. So I would have done
That's
exactly
why
what
I
Ed
would
and
never
Lorraine
go to
done.
the Villisca
I would have,
Axe Murder
and that's why I
House.
would never ever go to anything like that because I just
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to cope with it. You know what I mean? Because it's
yeah.
it's, it's an awful situation, and with how open I am, I'm pretty much like
You
Lorraine.
feel it. Mhm.
So it'd be too
Yeah.
much for me. You know what I mean? Like, and
I
I,
don't
I just think
agree.
that I just believe that investigations and hauntings like that,
Should be
people
left
use it to
alone.
their advantage, and it's selfish. It is
Yeah.
selfish.
That's
And
why
and
if
when
I
you
stayed
go
in
in there and
America, I
you
would never go to
investigate
the
and then you
Villisca
leave,
Murder House
how
because
can
that was
how can you
innocent
how
kids
can
that
you
get
leave and
killed
go
there
home? How can you leave and go home and go to bed knowing that that family is being tortured and stuck in that house
over
and
and
living in
over
that
again.
past of what happened to him? You know what I mean? How could you
I
go
would
home and
cross
do
them
that?
over. If I ever
I wouldn't be
went
able to.
somewhere like that, it would
Even
be
if
to
somebody
cross
turned
over the
around and said
spirit.
to me, "No, you won't cross them over because they make us the money," I'd be like, "To hell
I
with the
would still
money!
do it.
I'm bossing
Like,
them
come with
over."
me. Come on.
I'd be like, "Come on, come with me then, and
Yep.
I'll help you out." You know what I mean? I wouldn't leave them, even if I was told I weren't allowed to. I'd go, "Come with me." You know what I mean?
Yep.
I
I
wouldn't
would
leave.
leave
I
some
can't. I
good.
can't even do it on investigations I do where it isn't a house or anything that's known for murder, any murder. You know what I mean? I can't leave anything
See, I wouldn't
You
do
know what I
it.
mean? So let
No.
alone a family that's been tormented and tortured and spoke about, and has got so much stories about them out there. Like, what the hell?
I know. Look at
Let
the
them go.
books. My
Help
goodness, that
them.
must have been about 30
There was
books.
like there was about there's about 17, I think 17 books. 17 books, about 4 or 5 films, probably more than that. There's
That
loads.
energy alone keeps things like that
That
active.
keeps it
It
there as
needs
well.
to
That's what I was
be
going to say. It's going
settled.
to keep them. It's going
Yeah,
to keep all of that tragedy alive.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel that places like that should be left alone. Cross over the
Yeah, stay
spirits,
well
cleanse
away,
it.
guys.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
even
like
if it
fair
has
enough
to
if
be
you
knocked
come
down,
past an abandoned house that you don't know nothing about, fair enough. But when you know stories about houses and where something really tragic has happened, don't go in there and investigate them and try
no,
and get
don't do
footage
it.
and that. If anything, stand outside and go, is there anybody here that needs any help? Let me help you to cross over. Help them
Yeah,
to
that's
cross.
what I would do. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was the
Realistically, what? Right, realistically, let's take it from a paranormal investigator's point of view. What would you be going into the house for? To communicate with the demon? Because the spirits are never going to be allowed to talk to you unless that energy lets them. So there's really the only thing you could do is go in and release them because they'll all be under the power of whatever entity's in there. I do
and at
believe
the end
that's
of the
why
day, and
people are
that's
in
where
your
a lot of
head.
people go wrong. A lot of them went there because they wanted to try and talk to this family and stuff like that. But in realistic, yeah, the demonic spirit wouldn't let them speak. If anything, that it was probably that demonic spirit doing all of their voices and pretending to be them. You
Probably.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they ain't allowed to speak. A demon, a demonic spirit, does not let energies that is captured
They will
talk
not
to
perform
anyone.
for YouTube.
So, and it will not perform either. Yeah, and
Nope.
it's disrespectful. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that Ed and Lorraine went there and see everything that was going on, and I'm glad that they sorted it out and got that poor family out of that house. I really do. You
Yeah.
know
I'm
what I
actually
mean?
quite
So
glad that the Lutz did stop speaking about the case because,
yeah,
to be realistic, that energy would have just kept manifesting, manifesting, and manifesting. People were talking about it, yes, but it wasn't the victims. So, I think that says a lot.
yeah. All of those years of talking about it and remembering it, it kept them trapped.
Yep.
It kept that all there. You know what I mean?
That's why
And
Daniel stopped talking about. In fact, Daniel never spoke about it
pray to
until
God,
that documentary. He didn't
I do
even
pray to
tell
God that
people
they
his
are
real
gone
name.
from the house. But
Yeah,
you know, there's been families since that have said they've not experienced anything in the house anymore. So I do
I
believe that Ed
believe
and
them.
Lorraine definitely got them removed
Yeah,
and things like that.
I
And
believe
thank you
them.
to Ed and Lorraine, but God rest their souls because they are both past
Yeah,
now.
God rest your
But
soul.
you know,
And they're together.
and they're probably with that beautiful family. They're probably
Yeah,
up
they
there seeing
probably
all of the
are.
people they ever helped.
They
You know what I mean?
probably
So
do. There'll be one big jolly party over there.
yeah.
She'll have a lot of little kids and things all round her.
Yeah, Lorraine was Lorraine and Ed were beautiful people, but Lorraine was a darling, such a lovely
Yeah.
lady. She was, and I see a picture of her daughter yesterday, and her daughter is a splitting image of her.
Wow. I've never seen a
Splitting
picture of her
image.
daughter, to be fair. I think I seen a
She's the
picture of
splitting
her daughter
image.
when she was a little girl, but not as an adult. I think she tries to stay off the internet. Her man, her husband, he does
I
the
don't know if
Lorraine
I've
and
got the picture. Hang on a
Ed.
minute. Let me see if I've got the picture here because I know that Rudy sent me a picture of. I think Rudy sent me a picture of them. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, like she looks like her mum, most definitely. I was shocked when I see how much she resembles her mother.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Hang on. She is the double of her mum.
Oh, so she is. Wow. Yeah, she really is. Just shows you, doesn't it? There you go. Yeah, she was
Cheers to double.
definitely a special soul.
That is Ed and Lorraine Warren's. That is Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter.
Daughter and son-in-law. He's the one that actually runs the haunted museum now. Looks after Annabelle and things. Well, he's actually trained somebody else up to look after Annabelle. Oh, Sass has disappeared. She'll be back. There she's there.
Oh, I'm here. Am I back on?
It's a
Yeah.
very
I
interesting
don't know why
story,
we're
though.
at the side.
Because I think the picture disappeared. Have you stopped sharing?
Yeah, I've stopped sharing it. I don't know why it's done that.
You'd maybe have to put it
Hello?
back to the two sides, two screens side by side. There we go.
There you go. Oh, not that big.
Look, I've put my fingers in a socket.
But yeah, no, I hope that.
that.
Oh, I'm still listening. Just starting my paint by number. Oh, that's awesome. That sounds really
Nice
cool.
one,
I
Sally.
do hope that you've all enjoyed the show. I know, like, it wasn't really a nice thing to have to talk about and
know.
stuff like that, but
Sad.
it is still a story that today, years and years later, is still spoke about and still leaves so many people wondering and thinking. You know what I mean?
For
So,
sure. But it's definitely a
and
paranormal story that should be let lie.
love, respect, and rest well to all of them, including Ed and Lorraine as well. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they're all up there now. So,
Exactly.
you know, I think there's
Yeah.
just a time when a story should end and it should stop being spoke about
Yeah,
and
for
just
sure.
let them rest.
Let them rest.
Let them rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So this will probably be the last time you ever hear me talk about this
Amityville.
haunting.
Yeah, I agree. It's no need to be
You know,
spoke about as much. There is
we
films
don't
and
need it.
things
We
out
don't
there
need to
if you
talk
want to
about it anymore. We've
watch.
done it twice now. So
Yeah, probably 3 times to be fair.
and we
I think we've
didn't
done it
we
3.
didn't do it to get publicity or to get bigger. We just have a really big heart feel towards this story for the family
Yeah,
and for those that had to help them to get out of that as well. You know what I mean? And just a way to remind you all
definitely.
that be respectful of the other side and respectful of people's situations, scenarios they go through. Be respectful of
Yeah.
it.
Remember, there's human beings at the end of that tragedy, and there's still
That never
family
goes away.
members
Even
probably
when you're dead, you're
suffering.
still a human being, just in spirit
Definitely.
form.
I agree.
So I hope you've enjoyed, guys. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to what we've said to you and taking some of our advice and listening to us. Do not go looking for haunted houses that have had murders in it. Please be respectful
Please
and stay
don't.
away from it.
You could end up
You
with
know, if you feel any
attachments.
energy around there that's hanging about that might need help them by all means. But don't go in there trying to investigate them and find everything out. Don't do that to
Please
them.
don't.
Just let them rest.
Yeah,
Like, help them and let them rest.
yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
So,
For sure. What are we
but I'm
talking
going
about
to end
next
the show.
week?
Oh, next week. Hopefully, I might have that interview. Hopefully, next week. I'm going to have to message
Oh,
Reed.
yeah. Hopefully.
So, yeah,
And we have got divination show tomorrow night, guys. Remember,
I have.
11 o'clock UK time. And we are doing, what did we say we were going to do this week? We will find something divinationable.
We'll come up with something. Just be there
Yeah,
and
we
you'll
will
find
do.
out.
Yes. We'll do some
And also
spirit
keep
answers or
tuned in.
something.
So keep tuned in for Sister Drew tomorrow at 11 on our channel and on here. It'll be on everyone's again. And obviously keep a lookout for Sister Chrissy and Brother Chris and all of the other guys that go live and stuff over the week as well. It's always going through our channels, guys. So there's always shows coming up and being
And
done.
there's
So
great
make
interviews
sure you
on there,
tune
so
in.
go over and watch them. Go and watch what's on just now. There's amazing shows on there, guys. You can get them on Within the Cauldron. You can get them
Yeah,
on
go and
Sister
check up on the
Erica's
videos. If
channel.
you ain't got nothing to do and you're bored, there's lots and lots of videos, guys, you can catch up on if you're bored and you ain't got nothing to do.
Yeah.
And watch my fairy video.
Yes,
Watch
I'm
my
going to
fairy
watch
because I've
that.
done my fairy garden today. So
I'm going to watch that while I go get my jammies
and
on
I'm
and go
back
to
on
bed.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going back on tomorrow. I'm going back out. Well, I'm not going out there tomorrow, but I've got to mend their pots and
yeah, I can hear
their
Sparkle
shelter.
barking to get down.
Thank you both. You're very welcome, and thank you for watching, guys.
Blessings,
We are going
Karen.
to come off of here. I'm going to do my outro, and I am going to be leaving now. We all both love you lots, guys. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for supporting us. Don't forget to hit that like and share. And remember, always be respectful of the dead, guys. Always be respectful of the dead, okay? And
yes, I agree.
We'll see you all very,
Good
very
night,
soon.
everybody, and blessings to you all. Stop, my dog.
Love you all. And tune in tomorrow for Sister Drew at 11, guys.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah.
He's a pest.